tough, rude, and always right meat seller. Until long time ago, in Itaba town, there lived a young man named Nosa, and he was known far and wide as the go-to meat seller in Upper Market, the only market in the whole town. In fact, if you needed fresh meat, whether it was beef, goat, or assorted, Nosa's shop was where you headed. No one could match his stock, and most importantly, his punctuality and dedication. His meat was always fresh and readily available, even when other sellers ran out. But Nosa had a reputation for being rude, troublesome, and having zero patience for customers. If you dared ask for a discount, you would quickly learn that Nosa wasn't the type to negotiate. And if you complained, he would either ignore you or throw a snarky comment your way. Why I go sell am that amount? I thief am? He would say. Yet, despite his terrible manners, his shop was always filled with customers. Why? Because if you needed meat, you had no choice but to put up with Nosa's shop making ways. Early in the morning in the market, while the sun was just beginning to rise and the market not yet buzzing with activity, Nosa was already set up in his store ready to serve his ever-demanding customers. He made sure he had every option available to satisfy his customers, but the approach he used in serving his customers was dependent on his mood. He was careless with his words, yet his store was always crowded until the last piece of meat disappeared. Nosa would be at the store by 7 a.m. as early as that, even though the market wouldn't officially open until 8. But who could blame him? In the business of meat selling, the first to arrive was the first to sell. Many street food sellers and housewives would come out to buy meat so as to attend to other things. I mean, who wouldn't like to buy fresh meat? I'm not the one that was already changing color. The earlier you come, the better parts you could buy. Nosa was a no-nonsense meat seller. He didn't have time for negotiations at all. Once you tell him the amount of meat you want, he gets to work, cut and package, then collect his money. Oga Nosa, this meat too small now. Abeg, add more meat. He wouldn't even look at you. He's already attending to the next potential customer. If you complain further, he's already responding you. No worry, I go sell my meat. I go sell am to another person, he would say. And true to his words, he would. Because why? In the whole of Upper Market, where will you even see assorted fresh from slaughter that early morning to buy? He arranged his meat like a soldier getting ready for war. Everything had its place. Goat meat here, beef there, and assorted part in their usual spots. Nosa didn't mind waking up so early. In fact, it always worked for him. The quiet before the madness, his store was already full of fresh meat. No one could touch him on that. He would stand behind the store, leaning over his butcher's table like a king on his throne. The red meat sellers would still be on their way to the market while Nosa was almost done selling. Kofi, the neighboring meat seller, would just be strolling in by past 10 a.m. You could tell by the way he dragged his feet that it was not his idea of a good morning. Kofi would grumble under his breath as he set up his store, clearly irritated by Nosa's punctuality. Kai, this man Nosa, you no go let anybody sleep. How you go dey wake up this early dey come market? Abi market na your house. You dey live for the market? Kofi mumbled loudly, loud enough for the entire market to hear. Nosa didn't even look from his tax. He simply grinned. Kofi, I no get time for your wahala. If you wake up on time, you go see it spy. Abi no be so? Kofi rolled his eyes and muttered, waking up early no mean say you go see fresh meat buy from slaughter. I dey suspect say you dey use juju dey sell, and you dey use that same juju dey get fresh meat. You dey sleep? The other sellers nearby chuckled. It was a typical morning drama. Kofi had been saying this for months now, and Nosa just laughed it off every time. Juju, Kofi, woman, don't wake up early. You sleep like the lazy man when you pick. You go learn one day. I will buy meat, keep for table for you. Make it come sell when you wake up. Nosa says. Kofi grumbled again, clearly irritated, but there was nothing he could do. He sighed as he lazily started arranging his own store. Nosa continued his business. His skills as a butcher are unmatched. His store is always surrounded by chaos, customers haggling, shouting and gossiping. Yet Nosa remains unfazed, serving everyone with the same gruff manner. His reputation as a troublemaker is just as well known as his skill at providing quality and fresh meat. The market was beginning to fill up. The familiar sights and sounds of everyday commerce, the loud voices, the negotiations, the gossip began to take over. Madam Ngozi walked up to Nosa's stand, waving her hand dramatically. She was well known in the market for both her sharp tongue and her love for fresh meat. She owned the most popular restaurant at the center of the town. You could tell she wasn't one to be taken lightly. "Nosa," she called out, "I don't come. I no get strength to follow you quarrel this time. If you insult me again today, I go elsewhere. I no go buy from you again." Nosa looked up with a big grin. "Madam Ngozi, if you don't like me, you should have stopped coming to buy by now. But we all know say the best meat na Nosa's public day, fresh and readily available." Nosa, even though always had customers flock around him, but he knew one bulk purchase from Madam Ngozi saves him time and energy. She threw her hands up in mock frustration. She said quietly to herself, "If I stop buying from Nosa now, I go dey see fresh goods meat they buy. Now because say your meat dey fresh every time, and I no fit pass that one," she said teasingly. Nosa laughed. "Madam, I don't have time for your complaint. But you know say no matter how much you invest, you go still come back to me." Madam Ngozi looked around. She wasn't one to admit she was wrong, but when it came to fresh meat, readily available, she couldn't deny Nosa was the best. 2 kilos of goat meat, beef 30,000, assorted 20,000. I don't get the time for fight, abeg. Nosa raised an eyebrow. "Fight? Madam, if you want us to fight, just wait. Let me finish selling all my meat first. I will still give you meat, sha, but just wait. Then we go fight." And just like that, she handed him the money, shaking her head with a smile. By mid-morning, the market had reached its peak. The hustle was real, and the air was thick with the smell of grilled meat, roasted corn, and local spices. Kofi, still sucking about Nosa's early success, decided to call over Emeka, a new meat seller who had just started setting up his store. "Emeka, you see this Nosa? Na juju in dey use. Na wetin I fit tell you be this," Kofi whispered. "You see as they wake up every morning, every day. They get fresh meat every morning, no matter how early. No normal person fit do am. He must have some connection with the gods. See when person fit tell me." Emeka blinked, confused. "Juju? You mean say you dey use juju dey get fresh meat dey sell?" Kofi nodded seriously. "Of course. That man no dey sleep. Abi he dey live for market. I even heard he buys his meat from some mysterious source. No normal person will get readily fresh meat like him every morning, no matter how early you come." But contrary to his lazy excuses, Nosa was very dedicated to his business. He had made arrangements with some guys in the slaughterhouse that make available fresh meats for him daily for some little extra cost. His only issue was that he lacked customer service. He was rude and arrogant in dealing with his customers, but they kept coming back. Eneka scratched his head. I just consent though. I'm not being interested for this chuchu matter. For me, the thing I don't observe be say, just follow the game plan. Start waking up early, shout more, and when you dey sell, make sure say you dey add small insults for the customers. I believe say it go help, trust me. Later that day, the midday heat was beginning to set in, but Mama Tete didn't mind. She was used to the sun, and it wasn't her first time cooking hot jollof rice for the hungry crowd in the market. She set up right behind Nosa's store a big pot of jollof rice on the table, together with sides like plantain, moi moi, and coleslaw. Her colorful scarf perfectly positioned to show off her "I am in charge" vibe. Mama Titi was the kind of woman who made her presence known. Even without speaking, when she moved, people noticed. She had this natural swagger. If she walked past, you will feel the breeze she left behind. As she stirred her pot of rice with the precision of a woman who had perfected the craft for years, she overheard the conversation between Nosa and Kofi, a constant market drama. Nosa had finished selling for the day and gone home. "Kofi, you see that man Nosa, eh?" Mama Titi called out, her voice booming over the noise of the market as she waved her hand in the air for effect. I dey hear stories say they use juju dey sell the meat, but na lie, and that he sells bad meat? That man no fit sell bad meat now. His meat no dey fail, even if he dey insult everybody. I sell hot jollof rice every day in this market, and na Nosa meat I dey use. Because why? He is always readily available to sell fresh meat to you every day. Kofi, trying to be the villain of the day, frowned with all the seriousness he could muster. That man dey use juju. I swear, if it wake up like that every day, they get fresh meat they sell. I go report am o. I go report am, no worry. Mama Tete let out a loud laugh that shook the air, making other traders glance over the wave eyeballs. Reports? You never hear say even if you report am to Olumide, na your store go empty. Na only Nosa people dey buy from. That man too sharp. He sabi the tricks in the business. If you report am, where people go buy meat from? Abi you know the reason am? She clicked her tongue for emphasis, knowing fully well that any attempt to tarnish Nosa's reputation was a wasted effort. Abi na Nosa go report you. Look, Mama Titi continued, a finger now pointing directly to Kofi. Nosa's meat is like that one movie you can't stop watching. Even though you know the plots, you go watch more. Na fresh meat you go see every morning, no matter how the day start. The man doesn't sleep. He doesn't joke with his business. Forget his arrogance. He is a hard-working man. And before you know it, he don't sell finish. Kofi wasn't buying it though. But you know normal now. 1 minute you go sell am. The next minute, fresh meat everywhere. The next minute, you don't sell finish. You don't dey arrange in things. Mama Titi's eyes narrowed as she stirred her rice with one hand and flicked her scarf with the other hand, acting like she wasn't bothered but clearly enjoying the drama. You know here say Nosa don't get problem with half of this market before. Everybody don't follow am quarrel, but na him dey still dey buy from. Me, I no go waste my time any further. No be everything wey make sense na make sense. Na just the way Nosa be. Him and him juju, abi whatever people dey call am, no be something wey you fit touch with your hand. You better dey careful. Nosa carry grip. Truly, Nosa's meat wasn't just any regular meat. It was always the talk of the market, whether people admitted it or not. You could go to any other store and haggle over prices. Miss Nosa's meat? Nah, nobody ever complained. He wasn't just selling meat, he was selling satisfaction in a shiny black bag. Always fresh, always on time, and always with the side of insult. You never notice every time when Nosa show up with fresh meat, everybody go dey look like say they don't see their lost twin brother. Nosa go just greet them with him usual sharp mouth. You there? Oya, come take your meat before you hear say another person don buy am. I no want any nonsense story. And they go just dey buy meat like say they dey trance. Iya Tayo, a woman whose store was just by the corner, where she sells local spices, bitter cola, and other items. Kofi stood there, arms folded, as if his next move could change the tides of destiny. But deep down, he knew Mama Titi and Iyatayo were right. Nosa was like that impossible riddle you could never solve, but still couldn't stop thinking about. Anyway, poor wahala. But one day, Nosa Doju go spoil before all of us. Kofi muttered before walking off, still unconvinced, but unsure what else to say. Mama Titi just shook her head, her laughter echoing behind. I wonder, Kofi, I wonder how far your report could take you. Maybe na Nosa go end up reporting you instead. Nosa, him na king for the meat business. It was getting towards the evening and the market was winding down. Customers were starting to walk away with bags full of meat, fruits, vegetables. But Kofi, who had been following Emeka's advice, was about to have his first big moment. A young female copper came to his store, looking to buy. Oga, do you have fresh? She asked, squinting at the pile of assorted meat he had on display. Kofi, now fully in character, puffed out his chest and smiled. My needs no dey right bar. Na me be the best meat seller for this market. No need to look elsewhere. Na me, the lady who was new in town and was looking and stocking up her freezer with different protein. She raised an eyebrow, skeptical, but she decided to try buying from Kofi. One by one, she bought beef, she bought assorted and goat's meat. Kofi couldn't believe his eyes. It was its first real success in a long time, and it felt good. He hardly makes huge sales like this. He never gets to the market early, so he ends up not selling all the meat he had bought for the day. He eventually keeps the remaining meat in the cold room and continues selling them the next day. This is the same with most other meat sellers. Now, Kofi is starting to understand why Nosa sells so much. He knows what his customers want and when they need it. But Kofi keeps making excuses. From that moment, Kofi had a rethink. Maybe it wasn't juju that made Nosa successful, he said to himself. Nosa continued his business in upper market with the kind of dedication that would make anyone think he was working for the federal government. His customers, as demanding as ever, were always happy to find fresh meat laid out in front of him. Assorted, goat, beef, everything they needed for the perfect soup and stew. Nothing could distract Nosa from his hustle, not even gossip, not even rumors, and certainly not the noise of the market. He had one mission: to serve his customers and make his money. But one day, things took a turn. It was an ordinary raising money when an NGO decided to set up a sensitization stand right across from Nosa's store. The day's topic: breast cancer awareness. This wasn't just some quiet corner talk. No, this was big. They had a whole team, a couple of speakers, free games, grants for treatments, and contact lists for people who needed help. They were ready to bring the house down with their speeches, and the noise of the crowd quickly gathered. At first, Nosa wasn't having any of it. He was busy with his customers, selling meat like there was no tomorrow. The market noise was just another part of the hustle, and he wasn't about to be distracted by anything. But as the talk started, one after the other, the speakers dropping words like prevention, early detection, and support into the air, something unusual began to happen. It started small. Nosa's eyes kept glancing in the direction of the stand. At first, he tried to focus on his customers, but they noticed his attention was divided. His face wasn't as sharp as usual. Instead of his usual rapid-fire insult and sharp-toned banter, Nosa seemed distracted. His customers noticed and exchanged glances. Was Nosa really paying attention? Is this the same man who once yelled at someone for trying to buy just a piece of meat? It was hard to believe. One thing that stood out was how polite Nosa was, that it was almost like a different person had taken over his body. He hurriedly attended to each customer, always smiling, always saying thank you. Nosa, polite? No one could believe their eyes. For once, Nosa didn't throw any insult at his customers. He wasn't rushing any of them with his usual snarky comment about how they should have known what they wanted to buy by now. He simply snarled, packed their meat, and sent them on their way. By the time he had sold out all his meat, the talks were in full swing, and the crowd was now seated, listening intensely. Something strange happened next. Everyone was expecting Nosa to pack up and leave. He always left the market early, right after the sales, but this time he stayed. In fact, Nosa sat on a bench, eyes glued to the speaker. His face, which usually looked like a guy who had just bitten into a bitter lemon, was now calm and serious. There was something almost sorrowful about his expression, as if his mind was a million miles away.